Well, thank you for coming, everybody, to Sue. I know brevity is a virtue, so I'm going to enforce a 2-minute time limit myself. I'll tell you a little bit about our race. I'm a candidate for U.S. Congress in California's 9th District. It's largely San Joaquin County, but it goes up to South Sacramento County. A little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation American. I'm a family farmer, a small business owner, and a former member of the State Board of Education. There's a lot that's impacting that district, high unemployment and severe job loss, and we want to address all of it. A lot of it is attributable to the mistakes that my opponent has made. I'm running against Jerry McNerney, who's a guy in his final throes, but we can finally get him this time. He's got to move over the hill and fight me in the valley, so we've got home field advantage. He's moving from his Bay Area roots to mine, and things are going very well for us in this campaign. Our principles are, I hope, your principles. I'm supporting a balanced budget amendment, which I think more than 40 states have, but we need to extrapolate to the federal level. I'm fighting for tort reform in health care, and we need to seriously bend the cost curve. I'm fighting for student-centered education reform, because right now the unionized special interests have unfortunately been in the driver's seat of education policy in this country, which I find deeply problematic. Things are going really well. I know this is a district with an agricultural base. I speak that language. That's what my family does. It's where I learned the value of dollar, growing wine, grapes, and cherries. Agriculture exports are a big deal, and I support those too, unlike Jerry McNerney. A little bit about our campaign's trajectory. Things are going very well. Before you ask the question, I'll answer it. We've raised over $1 million in this campaign, almost all from individual donors. And those are folks up and down the valley. That stands in stark contrast to McNerney, who, I take heed of your warning, who's raised a lot of money from the special interests, but also from the Bay Area. Jeb Bush and Nikki Haley have endorsed our campaign and done events for us. It's a nationally targeted race. We're part of the NRCC's Young Guns program, and I'd like to think this race is not just a priority for us, it's a priority for them too. This would be the first time in 20 years that we will have beaten a Democratic House incumbent in this state. So we can make history in this campaign. I'd be thrilled to have your support. Before I forget, my consultant is Jamie Fistus. He's with us tonight, and I'll open the floor to some questions. Yeah.
What do you think about the SIU?
Well, I mean, in terms of unions generally, you know, there's I think a concern in the private market when wages are stagnating and benefits are stagnating, but that's not the case in the public sector where things have increased unabated. I think that's a problem. So, you know, I would say, you know, there's concerns there. Many of those issues are local and state, but the federal government shared sacrifice is important, and that's why I call for a balanced budget amendment, because we cannot be foisting these difficult debt scenarios onto the next generation. It's not just intergenerationally irresponsible, it's fiscally problematic too. And I hope you feel the same way. Yeah, sir.
Have you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Montague from Nevada, and is he a campaign contributor?
Montague, no.
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
My 3 questions.
I'm pro-life. I'm a strong and fervent believer in the Second Amendment. I grew up on a family farm, so I view that through the prism of self-defense, which particularly given dire cuts to public safety is an imperative. And then your last question would be on traditional marriage. I'm a firm believer in traditional marriage. It's part of the foundation of this society, and you would find me defending it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, Israel McNerney is not exactly a great fan of mine
Yeah,
in Israel.
sure.
So I mean, you might hit him hard on that issue.
Yeah, well, Israel is a country that has very naturally forged a very important security relationship with us, and it's our obligation to make sure that a promise made is a promise kept. And one of those promises is to Israel. So that's a sentiment we share.
I got a quick question for you. Is it true you're a law student?
I'm actually getting my degree in May, so it is true.
Wow.
But like many of you, I think you'll all concur that, and this is the truth, you know, age is nothing but a number, and that works both ways. And in this campaign, I put my experience of actually living in that district par for par with Jerry McNerney. He doesn't live in this district. He has sold our farmers short and sold them, so basically put their interests under the bus, which I find to be something I object to. But in terms of this campaign, leadership is a function of experience, but also vision. And if there's an election where I think people are ready to turn the page, instinctively that time is now. And I find we're getting a great response. It's not just the money, it is intuitively the appeal we have in that district. And we're turning a lot of heads, and I think it's for the reason that we're working hard and we're giving people a glimpse of the future. You know, this party, unfortunately, you know, we have let stereotypes be kind of applied to us, and in this campaign we rebut all of them. And that's why we're scaring the daylights out of this guy, and I'd be humbled to have your support too. One thing I did mention is that the San Joaquin and Contra Costa Central Committees have endorsed us, more or less by acclamation, and you know, the third time would be the charm. I'd love to have you guys.
You doing time? Okay, Terry and then Dan.
Yeah.
Will you support a national right to work law?
You know, I would. In fact, I mentioned to you that Nikki Haley had campaigned for me. This is an issue that was front and center in the state of South Carolina. The problem with when states, when you have a patchwork of states that have a national right to work law and others that don't, is you have instances where the NLRB can pick and choose their fights at a very inappropriate time, which is what happened to Boeing. So I think, you know, having that patchwork of disparate laws is a problem. And it allows, you know, sometimes companies to get caught up in a political feud. That's happened to Boeing, and, you know, I think this is a country of opportunity, and national right to work supports that notion.
But in the absence of a national right to work, you still support the right of states to pass right to work
Yes,
laws?
yes.
Okay.
And
Dan, have a
I think
quick
that flows logically from the first proposition.
Last question.
Yes.
Actually, minor question, where in the valley did you say you live?
Born and raised in Lodi, actually
Okay.
between Lodi and Stockton.
And what do you grow?
We grow wine, grapes, and cherries. And the reason I talk about local representation, by the way, in that congressional district today, there is not a single state or federal representative who lives there in the entire congressional district. So there is a real yearning to return that seat to someone in the valley. McNerney is not a good fit, and I think he's treading on thin ice here.
Good.
It's someone we can push.
Who do you sell your grapes to? What kind?
Well, a variety of wineries. Bogle is one. If you have Bogle,
Oh,
Vines
okay.
in
You got my vote.
But in all honesty, agriculture is and I mean this as a,
Oh, I think your
I'm done.
time's up? Yep.
we'll talk about it after.
All right, thank you, Ricky.